That's actually a good point, because even some friends in computer science and stuff who go into engineering in UW,
Yep.
even they sometimes say like they're not very prepared.
And I would say, like everything, the standards are high, but who you have as
That's
your
true.
teachers,
That's
right?
true.
University of Waterloo put out, it was like controversial, put a report a year and a half ago about how like the rankings of actual schools, and so like they actually have a ranking of schools in Ontario
Really?
for how grads from those high schools perform.
Interesting.
And so they actually flag like, here are the schools where we see a large discrepancy from their high school top 6 average versus their first year scores in university
Right.
classes.
Wow.
And universities are starting to track things like that. And again, on the whole, Ontario is very equitable across the province. Like
Right.
I said, the funding model is the same. There's not like a separation of this and this. But some schools or some departments have a different way of doing things and have a different structure and different rigidity, right?
like a different culture.
Like if you talk to friends, like if you were SJM, right?
Yeah.
Talk like going through SJM and like what the expectations were and what you got, say, from the science department, the teachers.
Right.
Where you talk to some friends who might be at another high school and talk about what their experience is, and they should be the curriculum's the same, the expectations are the same.
Right.
But how the culture in that department takes over and how they focus on and how it's looked at is a different question sometimes.
I think it'd be pretty interesting seeing how admissions offices in universities kind of function. Just because, like, even when you just brought up, like, you know, they have their whole ranking stuff. Now that I think about it, like, nowadays analytics and data play such an important role in just about everything. So I'd be really curious as to how they really see someone coming from like KCI or SJM or like Huron, and how they kind of see it based on numbers as opposed to really looking at an individual.
Totally.
And I feel like it makes, I mean, I get their point, especially coming from a school like University of Waterloo, because, you know, they're breeding pretty intelligent people and like very innovative technology, but I don't know. It's kind of interesting.
And what's fair and what's not there, because the idea is like every kid should be treated fairly and equally, right?
Right.
Like even and they're taking kids from a lot of students from outside of Ontario too, but like just starting with Ontario, which is where the bulk of their students are from, your top 6 average across the province should be treated fairly and equally about. But that being said, like, what if there is a school or department where maybe the way they look at marking and assessment is a little different, right?
Right.
How is that fair, equitable? Like, it's a really complicated thing. Like, if you come from a department where they're just known, like, we're really hard markers and we have really high expectations for our students. Like, English is a funny one. As an English teacher, it's more subjective, and it's something like I know, like, a lot of math and science students struggle sometimes in English. Like, you know, I need a 96 average to get into this program, and I'm pulling an 85 in your English class, and I have to use this in my top 6. Like, you're screwing me here. Is that mentality, right? And for some English teachers, their mentality is, well, like, you know, it's really hard to write the perfect essay, so I'm not giving out hundreds. It's like, whereas a math teacher might be, here's the math test, here's 30 questions. If you get all the questions right and have the proper formulas, you get 100% on that test. Whereas English teachers like, here's the subject and write this essay for me. 100's not 100 in the same way, right? Or it could be, but it's just a different thing. Whereas some other departments might be, again, if you drive up to Milton, at one high school, the English department would be like, no, like, if you write a good essay, it's 100. Like, that's how we do things. Not how do you standardize that? How do you process that? Which is, looping back, that's kind of the step for the UK in grade 11, right? Every single kid in the UK writes the exact same exams on the same day at the same time, and the schools don't mark them. They go off to a center to be marked and standardized across everyone to say, this is fair and equal. You can make a whole lot of cases for why that's not fair and equal, but like for every kid and every parent, be like, okay, we all wrote the exact same thing on the same day at the same time, and it was marked in the same way by everybody, so wherever you land on that is where you land on that.
That's interesting.
And I can make really good cases. Like, I mean, that's fair and equitable is a really fun term and word, right? Like, in one way, the UK can say this is the most fair and equitable way for us to sort students and say who's the top marks and who's not, and to pass this off to schools, say, hey, pick from this, because everyone did the exact same thing at the same time. Then the pushback from that and a lot of research and like assessment philosophy, and this is kind of where Ontario has been heading more hard, pushing it at the forefront of, is like, is that fair? Like, what if you're not a good test taker? What if like you're not good on the time crunch, right? Multiple choice is popular for those questions. Some people are good at multiple choice. Some people, multiple choice really throws them off. Is that how much is like, I'm a good test taker, I can sit down and get all this right in 2 hours in this style, and that's therefore I'm the best? Or is it like where other students can sit down, like if you interview them for an hour, they will blow your mind with their insights and how much they know. They're just not good by taking a test. Or if it's an essay question, even if it's not English, if you're not a strong writer, like, is that the skill you need to go off, right? Like those math and engineering students, like, I'm not going to need to write about this book ever, and that's not a skill I need. And I would push back and say, like, being able to effectively write is a skill for all things. But that being said, that's a fair criticism, right? So while the UK can be like, well, it's fair and equitable because everyone's treated the same way, but not everyone learns the same way. Not everyone shows their understanding the same way. And is that representative of success in university or not? No, not necessarily.